Today, I'm going to talk about regret as more than an emotion, but something that we have to be responsible for because it's the outcome of our life decisions, repeated life decisions. I'm going to break down why I believe most people do not ruin their lives in one dramatic moment, but through a series of short-sighted or fear-based or just misaligned choices, decisions. Also going to unpack the top regrets. In a book my wife read some time ago, she shared with me like the top regrets people have on their deathbed. I'm going to share those top 5 regrets on today's show. I'm going to show you how those regrets are tied to the choices that we make day in and day out, or the choices that we delay, the choices we don't make. You'll see that these are some of the top 5 regrets that people have on their deathbeds. I'm going to introduce Robert Greene's law of short-sightedness. You definitely want to check that one out if you know who Robert Greene is. And if you don't know who Robert Greene is, you want to just Google that name real quick. And then we're going to go through the 6-step decision-making framework that I've shared with clients and that I myself have used, right? Because I don't want to be sitting with deep regret. I made that choice early in my 20s. I'll talk a little bit about that story. And then I want to talk about how clarity of purpose creates a life compass and how we can use that life compass in our decision-making. By the way, the decision-making framework is centered around knowing your life's purpose. I think one of the heaviest realities a person can carry is regret. And I just want you for a moment not to bring you down, because this is like the idea of the show is to inspire, to motivate. But one of the things I often say is you got to know where you are to get to where you intend to go. And I just want for a moment for you to think about a regret you've had, maybe the last big regret where, you felt it deeply in your stomach, in the pit of your belly. And just like, ugh. And I'm not talking about a disappointment. I'm not talking about a frustration. I'm not talking about a bad day. I'm talking about a deep, deep regret, like something you regret. And one of the ways to know if you're living an aligned life is if I'm asking this question, you're thinking like, man, it's been a long time since I had that type of regret. Then more than likely, you're living in some level of alignment, right? But if you're like, I had some recent regrets, I really want you to listen to me. And if it's been a long time since you have regrets, listen, because like the idea is that we stay that way, right? And I think one of the reasons we experience regret is because we will look back on what happened and realize like, I knew better. I knew a different way. I just didn't do it. I felt that I was supposed to go in another direction. I saw the signs, but I did it anyway. I even felt that it was misaligned. Another reason regret comes up is because you delay it, procrastination. You ignore it, right? Or one of the things that we're really good at as humans is we'll rationalize and justify like a decision we're about to make. Knowing that this is something I shouldn't be doing, but I think I should get to do this because ... whatever that might be. And I think the biggest one is avoidance of fear. Like making choices based on navigating around fear versus through it. Big time regrets. And what I want to do is I want to build on this block throughout the show is that I don't believe that most people ruin their lives in one dramatic moment. I don't believe that. I believe that it's a series, right? Yahushua said it's the small foxes. It's like a series of like small small decisions. And then those decisions are repeatedly, right? And repeatedly making short-sighted decisions, like based on how I feel in this moment. How I feel is really real, very real. Or based on the fear of the present moment, like, oh, I don't want to face this thing. I don't want to deal with this thing. And decisions that we know don't align with our conscience, don't align with our commitments, don't align with the Creator himself. And the outcome is always regret. And I think that's the crazy part. The outcome is always regret. The outcome is always some level of remorse. I'll start with this. When I made a decision early on, I'm super, super grateful for this regret, right? This regret I had. I was 22 years old. And my decision making over the previous 4 years of my life left me feeling hopeless. It left me feeling discontent. It left me filled with a whole bunch of regret. And I remember having these thoughts. And by the way, what happened is I got kicked out of college. And I remember what it felt like to go to my mailbox at my dorm and open it up and pull out that pink letter that was a respectful request that I leave the campus, right? That I leave the university. And explain to me why, right? And I remember going to my room, my roommate saying, "You cool?" Like, somebody can look at you and say, "You cool?" I said, "Yeah, man, I'm all right," because we typically never really admit it, right? And I'm thinking, man, my life's about to change. I was like embarrassed, shamed, like everybody's going to understand and know, right? And my thoughts regarding my life at that point started with, what if? Like, what if? What if I had gone to class like I should have? And by the way, these might seem like very simple decisions, but I believe that most of the regret we have, like, it's a very simple decision. Like, man, what if I just studied a little bit more? What if instead of playing them video games, I actually just took an hour and went to the library, like just 1 hour a day, 1 hour? What if? What if I had taken this opportunity seriously? What if? What if? I mean, I was like bombarded with these what ifs. And what I also didn't realize is that in that moment, my focus on the past was actually causing me to make even more bad decisions. Because now I got to soothe myself, right? And I was so obsessed with this mistake that I spent very little time thinking about decisions that would support my future. Like, I was just like caught up in this regret. And so my life started to spiral. And I was stuck at this point of my life in this poor decision-making cycle that perpetuated one bad choice after the other. And those bad choices would create new regrets. So the one big regret started to spiral into a whole lot of other smaller regrets, like one after another. And I started to notice this, and what stopped this horrible decision-making avalanche, because that's what I would call it, was really the opportunity to connect with a man who became my mentor, who gave me this concept of vision. If you wonder why I push vision the way that I do, right? Hey, what happened, you can't do anything about that. But what you can do is take your eye off all the regrets and mistakes of the past and begin to put your eye on the future you intend to create. I'll give you a bite-sized piece of what we're going to talk about in the next hour. By the way, that's the first part of the decision-making framework. that every choice should be based on the vision you have for your life. Like you look through that lens, right? You look through that lens and say, this choice that I'm making right now, does it support the larger vision, right? Not, is it going to make me feel good? Not, is it inconvenient? Not, am I afraid? But does it support where I intend to go in my life? March 14th, Discovering and Living Life's Purpose course. I'm sure somebody's like been kind of thinking about it, but then it's like, oh, that's too long. How much time? All these different questions. And it's like, the question is, does it support where you intend to go for the rest of your life? Or could putting it off be one of those small decisions that leads to more regret? If I had known. I can't tell you how many times I hear this from Linal, if I had known. And I believe one of the reasons we don't know certain things is because we had an opportunity, but we pushed that opportunity away, not knowing what we would learn because of the current circumstance, because of current comfort, because of not choosing from a place of vision. Here's what I want to ask you, because regrets rarely start big. They start small. They start with what you can tolerate, right? What you can deal with in that moment. And they start with what we typically postpone or push off. And then they also start with what you know is probably wrong, but you got a pretty good justification for it. And they start when we choose comfort over courage, when we choose convenience over truth, and we choose fear over being fully aligned. Full alignment with the Creator. Well, if I say that, if I do that, if I move this way, what will happen? So let me give you some places to look real quick. I want you to ask yourself a few questions tactically. Like, ask yourself, what am I choosing by default right now? Like, by not making powerful choices in my life, what am I allowing into my life? Here's another question. What decision have you been delaying that is already costing you? Like, you've been delaying this decision. You know it's something that you should do. This week, it's funny, man, it was my strategy week. And I was getting really clear. And there's one thing that was like, this needs to be done this week. And Monday came. Right? Didn't do it. Tuesday came. And I'm like, man, you got to handle this. But there was a little fear there, right? I got to look into something that I don't know what I'm going to see. Right? Tuesday came. Didn't do it. Wednesday came. I'm talking to myself. Linal, you know better. Right? Wednesday, I was like, I can't let this day in. And then here's the funny thing, is when I focused in this area and I took a good look, it wasn't what I thought it was. I perceived that it would be bad. And then I'm like, oh, I just need to just basically tweak a few things and everything lines up. But before that, all these interpretations, right? What decision have you been delaying that is already costing you? It could be costing you anxiety because you haven't looked at it clearly. And then I want you to ask yourself, what pattern in my life feels small right now, but may not stay small if I continue to allow it to linger? Let's go back to the 22-year-old. So I get kicked out of school. I started taking on these other regrettable habits, right? Drinking a little bit more than I should. One of the guys I work with used to always go back and roll his own cigarettes. I'd be back there talking to him. One day I made a decision to ask for one. Hey, let me get one of those. Right? And the pattern felt small. But I started to notice that it didn't stay small. Because now, on that morning break, I felt like I needed it. It wasn't just an ask. It just wasn't curiosity anymore. Now, I was kind of like, man, Can I get, he's like, man, you need to buy your own pack, bro. That's when I knew, uh-oh. Whew, God, help me kick this. Let me stop right now. Let me stop right now. What pattern in your life feels small right now, but may not stay small? I got to tell you, I'm grateful because the Creator helped me on that one. I saw it coming. I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. I don't want to be stuck on this. So the strategy here is to catch regret while it's still in a pattern and not yet a crisis. Because once a pattern compounds long enough, like, you stop calling it a choice, right? And now it's just how it goes, right? This is, well, I've known plenty of people that smoke, and it just is what it is, right? It's not even an option anymore. Thank God I was able to stop it while it was still an option. And by the way, maybe a couple of months in, right? Difficult. Like, I had to be like, And one of the things that helped is I just didn't have the money for it. It's like, buy my own pack? Nah, man, I'm trying to figure out how to eat at night, eating Whoppers for dinner, 99-cent Whoppers for dinner. So a lot of what many of us that are mature call fate was once a pattern. Like many of the things that we, like now, it just is what you do. It started as a choice that looped on another choice that became a pattern that now you're dealing with on a daily basis. I want to introduce a few universal laws and principles. And one of the laws we're going to talk about is the law of short-sightedness. The way that we solve for now and ignore later, right? And this produces lots of regret. Linal, you don't understand what I'm going through right now. I may not. And by the way, it's not for me. I'm going through what I'm going through. You're going through what you're going through. This is why vision for life is so important. This is why clarity of vision is so important. Because am I choosing from that place? No matter what shows up, fear, discomfort, whatever it may be, or am I choosing from what feels right now? Because let me tell you something. Almost everything that feels right now is not necessarily good for you later. The law of short-sightedness. We're going to talk about this law. We're going to talk about the law of cause and effect. We talked about this law a little bit a few weeks ago. But every cause creates a visible effect, right? Everything has a consequence. Every choice that we make, every choice that we do not make, every choice we allow to happen by default has a consequence. Why should I step up and deal with things as a sovereign human being that was given dominion? Well, the law of cause and effect tells us. All right. And then 3, every repeated choice plants something. The law of sowing and reaping. Right? Every choice I make is a seed. Every choice I don't make is a seed. Just like any garden, if you don't tend to it, weeds will grow. Weeds will grow. So the decision not to attend to it has consequences. Just like the decisions to attend to it have consequences too. One of the reasons many of us don't have the fruit that we want in our life is because that fruit has been choked out by weeds. The weeds of the decisions that we refuse to make. And now it leads to regret. I wish I had weeded the garden just a little bit every day, because now it's overwhelming and I don't know how to get fruit. How do we deal with these regrets? How do we deal with these regrets? And here's the tough part. Most regrets begin as a convenience. That's the really, like most regrets begin as a convenience. It's a Saturday, I'm tired, I just need some rest, right? It's a convenience, it's a comfort. And what we don't realize is that every decision that we delay is still shaping the future. It's still shaping our future. And so what I believe is that many people aren't suffering from just one bad decision. They're suffering from repeated procrastination. They're suffering from constant comfort. Like wrap your mind around that oxymoron. Like to suffer from constant comfort. Regrets from constant comfort, and they suffer from repeated misalignment. Repeated misalignment. I'm so grateful. I had the opportunity to grow up understanding the law. When I say the law of God's law, I had the opportunity to grow up understanding the scripture. I had an opportunity to grow up understanding the word of God. When I was 19 years old, I read the Bible for the first time from beginning to end. And I remember the impact that had on me, right? And by the way, one of the reasons at 22 I was drenched in regret is because instead of moving in alignment with what I had read, I took it as academic instead, and I pushed it to the side, right? Big regret. Like, how could you take that? But I was like, I use it as a way to discredit the people I felt like had misled me. Well, what I'm reading here is not what they said. And I took that as, well, let me distance myself from them. And because they said it, no, living this way just don't work. This doesn't make sense. I use everything outside of me to justify how I was living. Not realizing that in reading this powerful word, it was really a call to me, not a call to them, but a call to me. Big time regret. So regrets almost always start as a convenience, right? It was a convenience. I got to live the way I wanted to live. I got to do what I wanted to do. I got to move in a way that didn't mess with my conscience. You know, it was convenient. And I'll deal with my spirituality tomorrow. I'll deal with the way I'm living tomorrow. And what happened is my choices every day were beginning to shape my future. So at the age of 22, I started to see that if I didn't make a significant shift, I was about to start living a life that I was not going to enjoy. And something had to change. If you wonder, like what's the, everybody has a story, right, that creates how they show up and who they are. If you wonder what my story is, this is a huge part of it. Now, how does he show up this way? Why is he so focused? Why what's this thing with vision? What's this thing with purpose? Why is he so all about purpose, life's purpose? It's because I could see very early on in my life that if I didn't realign, I was headed nowhere fast, nowhere real fast. I could see it. It was literally happening to me. Living in my mom's basement, my mother and father's basement, broke, barely making ends meet. Well, ends, I already wasn't paying rent, right? I didn't have a car, but barely being able to keep food in my mouth. I could see it. I'm like, oh, I'm becoming that guy. I'm becoming that guy. I'm becoming that uncle. I had an uncle that lived in my grandmother's basement, right? I'm becoming the uncle. I could see it. I'm like, oh man, something's got to shift. Then I met my mentor. He said, vision. What's your vision for your life? What's the chief aim of your life? What's your purpose? Purpose. When I tell you purpose saved my life, purpose saved my life. One of the things that I've learned in working with people, coaching, being in intimate conversations with leaders, very successful people, is that the one thing that will get us to move is thinking about our lives and how we want to live later. Not right now, but later. Shifting the context for people to say, okay, so based on where you are right now, where do you want to be? One of the questions I'll ask Saturday at the Discovery and Live Your Life's Purpose workshop is what I want you to get. Well, the question is, what would your 80-year-old self tell you? Right? And you'll be surprised how emotional people get when they come out this exercise, because they begin to see like, oh man, wait a second. I'm on a path that when I turn 80, if I can see 80, right? Some folks are like, well, I see 80 because right now how I'm living don't align with 80, right? I need to do something. So right away it shifts things, right? But then other folks are like, well, yeah, I believe I'll see 80, but how do I want to see 80? How do I want 80 to show up? Where do I want to be at 80? And now, are the things that I'm afraid of in this moment, do they really matter? Do they really, really matter? Am I truly going to allow like these little nuisances, these little fears to dictate what I'm going to do in my life long term? Because if I don't make a powerful choice, 80 will run up on me and I'll have deep regrets. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be 80 years old with deep regrets. I don't want to be sitting thinking about what could have been. Years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Machu Picchu. And I was there with my sister. She was studying in Peru. I went down there to visit her. We went up to Machu Picchu. And I trained to climb the mountain, Mount Huayna Picchu. And somebody asked me, why are you doing that, man? That's crazy, you know. And I was like, it's an opportunity. I might be the only shot I have at this opportunity. Turns out it was the only shot I had at that opportunity because you can't climb that mountain anymore. But here's the real piece. It's too dangerous. It was dangerous. Here's the real piece. I remember when I came down and there was an older gentleman who was standing at the base. It was like this gate. And he was standing outside the gate. And I came out. And he saw me. He says, young man, did you just climb that mountain? I said, I did. He said, can I bother you for a moment? Can you tell me about your experience? And I was like, yeah. You know, I was like, he was like, I'm asking because my entire life I said I would climb that mountain. And now I'm 83 and I'm here and I can't climb it. Just like, let that sit in for a second. His entire life, he told himself he was going to do something, only to arrive at that place without the capability. When I tell you he hung on every word I told him, I tried to share with him every place. I said, some places, man, you had to go through like these little rock tunnels to get to the top. He was like, oh my goodness, what did that feel like? You could say, when I finished, he had tears in his eyes. And I thought to myself, oh man, I do not want to be this man. Whatever it is that I intend to take on, whatever experiences, whatever I'm supposed to explore, whatever purpose the Creator has given me, help me take it on now. If you wonder why I live the way I live, like that's one of the reasons why. Like now is the time. Now is the time. The 5 regrets. We're going to end with this, and then when we come back, we're going to end the first hour with this. When we come back, we'll go into Robert Greene's law of short-sightedness. So what are the top 5 regrets? What are the top 5 regrets that people have? So Bronnie Ware wrote this book, and what he said is that, what she said is that most people tend to fall into deep regret when they can sense that their life is almost over. And the 5 things that she calls out. Number 1, I want you to hear this. Number 1 is not living true to oneself. And when you read this particular chapter, the first thing she calls out is not truly knowing oneself. Like no identity, no clarity of who I was supposed to be. Like the number 1 regret that people have, I believe, is not living aligned with their purpose. Not identifying their purpose. Not becoming clear on who it is that, like, not truly knowing and living in alignment with oneself. Like, let that sink in for a second. Number 2, working too hard. Working too hard. I believe, which is in direct correlation with number 1, because when you know who it is that you are and what it is that you're supposed to do, it aligns with who you be. And so the work isn't difficult. You might have tough days, but the work isn't difficult. You're not operating outside your purpose, out of alignment. And so working too hard, right? Like the toil doesn't show up as a regret because you know everything that you put your hand to was in alignment with who you were supposed to be on the planet. But could you imagine spending your life working at something that you know didn't even matter to who you were supposed to be? My goodness. Regret number 2. Regret number 3, not expressing their deepest and truest feelings, leaving love on the table. I was listening to a lady who was married 78 years, and her granddaughter was asking her, what's the one thing, like if there's anything you regret, like about your marriage to grandpa, what is it? She's like, I wished I had kissed him more and complained less. I wished I had kissed him more and complained less. I believe one of the reasons our complaints come up in our relationships is because we're afraid to truly express our love. We're afraid to truly say, you know, I love you so deeply. And when you do that, it hurts me. Not truly expressing my feelings, not being vulnerable. Number 4, losing touch with friends and loved ones. People you know genuinely cared about you. I believe it links back to number 1 and number 2, right? Because I don't truly know myself and because I'm working out of alignment, I don't have the space nor the energy to really be an intimate relationship. And then number 5 was not doing what it took to allow myself to experience happiness. 5 regrets that people have. I don't know about you, man. That's heavy. What I didn't see is I wish I had spent more time scrolling on social media. What I didn't see is I wish I had stayed disconnected longer. What I didn't see is I wish I had played it safer. The price of short-sightedness. The price of short-sighted life decisions. And by the way, I'm not even talking about, you know, stuff like I need money going to rob the bank, right? Which, by the way, is incredibly short-sighted. Incredibly short-sighted. Like, we'll sit back, look at that, and shake our heads. It's like, but where are you doing that in your life? If someone else can do that on a dramatic scale, where are you doing the same thing on a scale that's not quite so dramatic? Where are you robbing yourself? So, Robert Greene, by the way, this is in Robert Greene's book, The Laws of Nature. It's probably one of the thickest books I've ever read, and worth it. I'm happy I made the decision, right? Talking about decision making. I'm happy I made the decision. In fact, if I hadn't read it, I couldn't share this with you all today. So he has a law in there called the law of short-sightedness. And what he does is he warns that short-term gratification and emotional immediacy can distort your judgment. And that the antidote to living a powerful life is to always adapt when you're making a decision, to always adopt the longer view. The longer view. All right. This is big. This is big because what he says is a short-sighted person is not necessarily foolish, because sometimes we see people make decisions. We go, that's foolish. It's like, but no, the short-sighted person is not necessarily foolish. What happens is they're often just too trapped in the emotion of the moment to think outside of it far enough to see how the decision they're about to make is going to impact their lives. So they're caught in the moment. And so what he's saying is, don't be caught in the moment. Don't be short-sighted. For every decision that you're going to make, think about the long view. So short-sightedness says, get some relief right now. Make yourself feel better right now. Avoid discomfort. Why are you going to be comfortable? Get comfortable right now. You know what? Figure out how to make yourself as peaceful as possible right now. Stay safe right now. Escape this feeling you have, this anxiety, this fear right now. Go ahead and pour it. Go ahead and smoke it. Like, do it right now. But wisdom will ask a different question. What could this potentially build in your life? What could this create in your life? What could it tear down? Where does this decision lead you? What will this decision cost you later? What future will you be creating with this choice? With this choice. So I can give you example after example after example of how I played this out in my life. I'm a man just like any other man listening. I know what men go through. I know the temptations just like you do. I know how it is to navigate this world day in and day out just like you. No different. And the things that keeps me on a path of righteousness is not that I'm so cunning and so smart. It's slowing down to make a wise decision. Because I promise you, I'm red-blooded just like you. Right? But what Robert Greene is saying here is when the emotion hits, when you want relief right now, let wisdom ask. This is what Solomon said, Proverbs 3:5. Let wisdom guide you. Let wisdom guide you. What would this build in my life? Where would it lead? What will it cost me later? Right? What future would this end up creating? And when I see that vision, right, I go, well, that doesn't look like the vision I have for my life. If I stop and do this, if I allow this temptation to win, that doesn't look like the vision I have for my life. And so this vision is so attractive that even though it feels uncomfortable in the moment, even though there's something inside me urging me to, like, man, just for once, give yourself a break, I have to say no. I have to stay locked in. I have to stay committed to the vision for my life. Because whatever enjoyment this may give me right now, it is clear that it's taking me off the path and leading me towards a darkness I do not want to be a part of. Hey, if you're enjoying what you're watching right now, do me a quick favor. I want you to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss when we drop new content. Seriously, it means the world that you're here. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to it. Here's some tactical things that you can bring into the conversation when it comes to making powerful decisions, when it comes to making a decision that actually aligns with the future you're looking to create. Now, number one, remember I said you have to have a vision. One of the reasons many people fail is because they do not have a vision for their lives. Then, number two, some folks do have a vision, but one of the reasons that vision is not compelling because that vision is not aligned with their life's purpose. When you know your reason for being, when you know your reason for existing, and you see what the Creator is looking to create as a result of your life, there is something compelling. It gives you a different level of strength to say, I must remain aligned. And by the way, the temptations become larger, right? Because the great deceiver is like, how do I get him off course? How do I get him off course? So, here's some tactics that I believe will support you. You might want to write these down if you can. All right? Here's some tactics I believe will support you. Here's the first tactic. What will this decision produce in 6 months? What will this decision produce in 6 months? Like, what will it create? What will I be dealing with in 6 months if I make this decision? What will this decision produce in 1 year? What will this decision produce in 5 years? Here's another way. So that's a time bound. Like tactically, like if I make this decision, then where does it lead? Like, what will it produce? Because right now it can feel incredibly uncomfortable, right? But where am I looking to go? Why would I do the uncomfortable thing? Oh, 6 months from now, I see where it can actually create something much more powerful and better in my life. I see the clarity. By the way, Slay Your Goals members, we'll be meeting later today. If you want to become a part of the Slay Your Goals community, you can go to slayyourgoals.com. By the way, you can download the free book at a minimum, and then check out the membership there. But we're going to be talking at 9:30 today. And I want you to think about this in terms of the minor decision making that it takes to sit down and actually focus on your goals. Because then if I actually write out my goals, if I do this work right now, what would it produce for me in 6 months? If I get clarity on the vision and I actually create my plan, one of the things we're talking about today is creating the plan, like actually the full-on plan to deliver on the goal, right? All the way down to the action plan, reverse milestones, etc. That's what we're working on today. But then if I take the moment, the time, right? Because it might take me 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to actually write out my plan. But if I write out my plan, what is the impact that will have on my life to have a plan to know what my purposeful action should be in life, the most meaningful actions I want to take in my life? What will that produce for me in 6 months? What will it produce for me in 1 year? What will it produce for me in 5 years? You see how it moves you out the moment? Well, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like doing it right now. Oh, there's so much more going on. I'm tired. Today is daylight savings time. You see how it changes the conversation from comfort to vision? What will this produce for me in 5 years if I do it this way? Am I choosing relief in this moment, or am I choosing wisely? Another way to ask it. Am I making this choice from fear? Am I making this choice from loneliness? Am I making this choice from ego? Am I making this choice from anger? Should I really say this to my spouse? How will it impact us a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now? He can't shake it. She can't shake it. Can't believe you said that to me. Man, James, he starts chapter 3. Starts chapter 3 with talking about the tongue and how untamable it is, how much power it has. Should I say this? Anger. Am I making a choice from anger? Am I making the choice from simple exhaustion? And then here's the thing that Robert Greene says in the law of short-sightedness. He was like, hey, don't make the mistake of asking yourself, if I do this, what happens next? No, ask yourself what happens after that. So if I do this, what happens next? If then what happens after that? And then what happens after that? Because maybe today is the day you said you're going to sit down and write out the goal, write out the plan. You're like, but if I don't do it, what happens next? Well, then I got to push it to Monday, but I don't have any time Monday, so I got to push it to Tuesday. I don't have any time Tuesday. I don't have to, oh my goodness, I said I was going to a birthday party Saturday. I don't have time Saturday. The next Sunday, it won't get done. I need to do it now. You get where I'm going? Like, actually be with your decisions. Ask what happens after that. All right, so what's the strategy around this law of short-sightedness? The strategy is that we think in trajectories, not just moments, right? So I'm thinking, and by the way, this is the executive function of the brain. You cannot be in fear here. Like if you're in fear, like you're frozen or you're fighting or you're running, right? So we have to be able to work ourselves. This is the power of prayer, by the way. Because what I believe prayer does is it slows us down. It brings us out of fear. It brings us out of anxiety. It brings us out of the present moment. You can't run and pray at the same time, right? Take that breath. You say, okay, help me. And then we start to think in trajectory, not just the moment. Where do you want me to be? Where do you see, right? Short-sighted people, what happens is they overvalue their immediate comfort. Like there's a lot of value. Oh, it smells so good. I just got to eat it. A lot of value on the immediacy, right? Not like, well, where does this take me? If I eat this for breakfast, what will my energy level be for the rest of the day? The strategy is to think in trajectory, right? Again, remember, vision equals discipline. Trajectory is checking in on the vision. Vision equals discipline. So if I'm thinking in trajectory, not moments, that's how you can say, nah, there's nothing here I can eat. Yes, there is, Linal. There's plenty here you can eat. Not based on the trajectory of where I intend to go today in my life. There's nothing here for me to eat. Right? Versus overvaluing immediate comfort. Well, it does smell good. What happens is short-sighted people undervalue long-term peace. Because I'm caught in the moment, I don't see how, if I actually do the work today, it brings peace tomorrow. If I go through the discomfort today, it actually brings me peace tomorrow. Short-sighted people respond emotionally versus reflectively. What made me feel like this in the moment versus where is this taking me? What am I learning? How is it making me better? And short-sighted people confuse urgency with importance. Because I can promise you some of the things that we do feel urgent, but is it really truly important? I'll give you a perfect example. I have clients sometimes, I'm like, they make certain commitments, write my goals, set my vision, all these things. And I say, well, what happened? Oh, man, I found myself cleaning the house. Felt urgent at the time. Was it really important? Is it more important to work on a thing that absolutely transforms your future? Or what seems immediate in the moment? Well, I can't work in a nasty house. And y'all know I don't believe in nasty. But sometimes, let me tell you, sometimes it's necessary to say nothing else happens but this. Because I'm thinking in trajectory. A lot of times we focus on the moment and lose sight of the mission. What's the mission? And this is how avoidable regret is built in our lives. This is how then we sit with regret. How did I let another year go by? Ephesians 5 and 15, Paul tells them in Ephesus, hey, walk circumspectly. What does that mean? Walk carefully. So what he's saying is like, hey, don't move fast. Like, slow down. Think in trajectories. Walk wisely. Walk wisely. Like, walk with context. Look at the full picture, right? Watch what's going on around you. Then he says, redeem the time. What does it mean? It means work on what you're supposed to be working on. Redeem the time. That is the opposite of short-sighted living. So then why don't people choose this path? Let's talk about that. Because I think for anybody who has good cognitive reasoning, if you're listening right now, you're like, okay, this makes sense. These are all things I already know, Linal. Why are you teaching this? Because we don't always live it. Matter of fact, most of us don't. Right? So then, if that's the case, why don't we? Well, it goes deeper. Why do people stay unclear about their lives? Why do people stay unclear about their life's vision? Here's another one. If the top regret of people on their deathbed is not being fully aligned with who they were supposed to be in life, then why do people avoid purpose? Why do they allow themselves to drift all their lives? Why does that happen? These aren't dumb people. These aren't stupid people. Many of these people are learned. Many of these people are well educated. Many of these people spent significant portions of their lives learning things that did not align with God's purpose for their lives. So I'm not going to just say, oh, that was stupid. That was dumb. No. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Here are the 7 big reasons. Number 1, fear. Well, this is not what my family wanted me to do. This is not what I was supposed. You get where I'm going? Living for other people. The number 1 regret is not living in alignment with myself. The number 1 regret. But why do we do it? Fear of what other people might think. I said it before. God knows I love my mom, and she supported me on everything. But I remember the day I told her I was leaving corporate America. I could hear her almost in tears on the other side of the line. She thought it was a horrible mistake. Linal. I'll never forget how she said my name. What if I allowed her emotion to dictate my decision? There was nobody more proud of the decision I made to leave corporate America and what my life was becoming than my mother before she passed. I'm so proud of you, son. Right? She didn't even know that what she felt in that moment was going to turn into a different level of joy, a different level of pride. What if I listen? When the Creator is calling you, He's calling you. He's calling you. He's not calling your mama. He ain't calling your daddy. He ain't calling your wife. He ain't calling your husband. He's calling you. He's calling you, not your sister, not your brother. He's calling you. That's why I believe it's one of the reasons people don't pursue a path of purpose. Fear of what other people think and fear of failing. Number 2, fear of judgment. Fear of judgment. I don't want people to think I'm stupid. You know how many people told me, like, hey, man, you okay? When I left corporate America, you all right, brother? I got phone calls from other professionals, people I had networked with over the years. I heard you so you starting a coaching firm? Hey, bro, you cool? I remember one brother, I had lunch with him a little bit after I left. Real cool brother. And he reached across the table and put his hand on my head. He said, I just had to check to see if you had a temperature, brother. Right? Fear of judgment. Fear of judgment. Why don't we pursue a path of purpose? Number 3. Check this one out. And I maybe it should be number 1, but I think it's part of what allows number 1 and number 2 to persist. Right? Number 3. A lack of self-knowledge. You don't even know yourself. If you knew how powerful the Creator made you, if you knew the essence and the spiritual substance that He put inside you, only your unique mix of it. If you knew what He had designed in His mind for your life, in the miracle of your conception. If you knew, like a lot of these fears wouldn't bother you. The judgment of the people wouldn't bother you. If you knew what your true passions were in this moment. See, this is what folks don't know. This is why the course is so important. Saturday, March 14th, Discovering Live Your Life's Purpose. It's an opportunity for you to actually sit and date yourself. You can go to linalharris.com to learn more. You can use the QR code on the screen to learn more if you're watching. You can also just hit the link in the comments on both YouTube and Facebook. If you knew yourself, lack of self-knowledge. Most of us, and here's the questions I'll ask Saturday. You can start now if you're in the course. What are your top 3 passions? Top 3 passions, the things you're most passionate about. Most of us don't slow down long enough to actually think about it. Your passions are your spiritual GPS. They're put there for a reason. The Creator's trying to tell you, hey, go in this direction. What are your top 10 talents? The gifts you were endowed with by the Creator, the things that He gave you for your assignment. You wonder why work is so difficult? You wonder why Monday mornings give you so much anxiety? You wonder why it seems like you can't really get ahead? Maybe you're not in alignment with your endowed gifts, your talents, the things that you're really supposed to be doing, the places where you're really supposed to be focused. It's interesting. This week was my strategy week, and I was looking at what our company does and doesn't do. And I was being thoughtful and prayerful about it. And I told my team, like, there's some things we're going to pause. And as I was thinking about it, what the Creator dropped in my mind is, I gave you the work that you love. Are you taking on anything else? It's like, because then that's what's going to make it feel hard, right? What if all we did was focus on the things the Creator dropped in my spirit to love, the work that the Creator dropped in my spirit to love? What is that? That was the only work we were doing. Well, those would be easy days. Y'all follow? I'm not saying I won't be in the office 10 hours sometimes, but I bet you I feel different than you. Coming out, it makes sense. Why do you think you feel the way you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Because you're out of alignment. You don't even know your own talents. In the time you got intimately connected with yourself. 7 reasons people don't pursue a path of purpose. They don't know themselves. I don't even know my talents. What are your top 10 strengths? What are the things that in your life you've developed, and it took you time to develop it, that maybe because you're job hopping, you constantly are abandoning? You got to develop brand new strengths. You feel like you're always trying to catch up. What if you were able to leverage the main core strengths that you have? What are they? Do you know? Do you even know? The lack of self-knowledge. I hate to say it, but when I tell you, I mean, I've been in intimate conversations with really intelligent people who I admire. Most people don't know themselves. They have no idea who they are. They have no idea who Yahweh created them to be. They have no idea of their internal essence, that, by the way, is unlimited, the creative capacity they have. They have no idea about the talents He endowed them with. And life has been difficult because they've been working out of alignment. What if you just change lanes? It's like being in a traffic jam. You ever been, in that lane that's not moving and everybody is shoo, shoo, shoo. And a lot of folks are like, but I can't, they're moving too fast. I can't get over. I believe a lot of us are right there in life. You're sitting in a lane, you feel blocked. How do I get over? Saturday, March 14th. Saturday, March 14th. That's how you merge. That's how you start moving faster. You can go to linalharris.com to learn more. Number four of the 7 reasons people don't pursue a path of purpose is because they're addicted to comfort. Here's the one thing I'm not going to fool you about. Purpose is going to put you up against it. Why? Because in order to become who you're supposed to be, you have to walk through the fire. You have to walk through the fire. Everybody talks about King David. They don't talk about his fire. King David would have never become King David if he didn't face the giant. There's a giant in your life. Most people don't want to face the giant. They don't want to face the giant. Like, imagine if he didn't face the giant. All of history would be different. Imagine that. Imagine if you don't face the giant. All of history will be different because you are that significant. You are that important. There may be things my children don't get because you don't face your giant. Because of fear. Because of fear. Because of comfort. David was comfortable, man. He didn't have to go to the front lines. He was sitting singing to the sheep. How much more comfortable, like chilling under his father's roof. He went out there. He got a call to face the giant. He took it. And then that wasn't the only path of fire he had to walk. Number 5, short-term thinking. Again, being in the moment. We talked about that. Number 6, old wounds and old identities. Like some of us, we're still replaying what the teacher told us. We're still replaying what our mama told us. Well, you know you're not really that smart, right? Some of us are still playing. Some of us are still sulking in those old wounds. And it's putting a gap between where we're supposed to be and living our purpose. Number 7, a lack of clarity on your purpose and your life's vision. This is why people don't pursue a path of purpose. This is why they don't. So, maybe you heard that list. You're like, man, Linal. Somebody in the Facebook comments over the break, I was reading it, and said, man, Linal, today is heavy. Sometimes it's got to be to wake us up. Here's the question. What are your top 2 blockers? Of the 7, what do you notice? Fear of failure, fear of judgment, lack of self-knowledge, addiction to comfort, short-term thinking, old wounds, old identity, or lack of clarity? Which one is yours? What are the top 2 blockers for you? Why have you delayed? Get clear on why. Why have you been delaying? Why have you been putting this off? Some folks say, well, I just want to make sure I'm making good decisions. Maybe that's another form of avoidance. Again, I broke down how to make decisions, right? Robert Greene's law of short-sightedness, think in trajectories. If I don't do this, then what will happen? You know. Stop hiding behind confusion. A lot of times, I'm so confused. Consider that the confusion is really fear. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I don't see what's on the other side. I'm not confused, Linal. I'm just scared because I can't see when I take this step what happens next. But that's what's called faith. I'm going to tell you something. Most people aren't lazy. Come tomorrow, most of y'all, alarm are going to go off, you're going to get up. Right? Now, there's a fraction of folks that it's not going to get up and they're not going to have a job after that. Right? But most of y'all listening to me, that's not you. You're not lazy. You're moving. And if you tell yourself you're lazy, you're lying to yourself, right? You're speaking negatively to yourself because you're moving. You're moving all day and you're tired. Right? Most people aren't lazy. What I believe is most people are disconnected. They're disconnected from who it is they're supposed to be. They're disconnected from their purpose. When it gets hard, what do? The wisest man in the world, he said, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and he shall direct your path. Lean not to your own understanding, right? So what this means is direction is there. Direction is possible. What this means is clarity is there. Clarity is possible. What this means is confusion shouldn't be running your life. What I'm afraid of is, one, we're not slowing down. One, like, do you really have trust? Do you really? I can remember, man, 2015. Like actually meditating on the thought, Yahweh is my source. Yeah, and like, I believe that, but are my actions dictating that? I believe that, but are my actions aligned with that? I believe that. Trust with all thine heart. Lean not to your own understanding. Do you know the company I left, it doesn't even exist anymore? They got acquired last year. Lean not to your own understanding. Let him direct your path. Purpose. A person without clarity is more vulnerable to short-sighted decisions. And this is why I say purpose is not a luxury. Like, it's something you have to have. It's not a luxury, right? It's something that you should be operating with on a daily basis. It's a direction. And I don't believe some people need more motivation. What I believe is they need a compass. What they need is a compass. Here's why I believe people need a life compass. This is where we move from diagnosis to direction, by the way. All right. Now, I want you to think about all the pressures in the world right now. There's a lot going on. It's a whole lot. I've been getting phone calls. Hey, man, what you think about this war? You think we can win? You think we can't win? What all these different things, right? Right now we're in a geopolitical mess. Pressure. Economic. So then it creates economic pressure. It creates job pressure. It's like I'm talking to my clients. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Here's the thing, though. Your life should not be led by pressure. Your life should not be led by panic. Your life should not be led by people pleasing. Your life should not be led by whatever feels loudest this week. We're at war. We're at war. Your life should be led by a compass. And that's why clarity of purpose matters, because at the core of the compass is your purpose. The decision-making framework I was talking about in the first hour centers around your purpose, your vision, your passion, your strengths, your talents, and the roles that you play. If you don't know yourself, then it's like walking through life without a compass. If you don't know your purpose, it's like walking through life without a compass. What Dr. Jan Salmon says is that any human being that is lost and walking without a compass literally walks in circles. You've been trying to figure out why your life seems to take on the same mistakes, same things, same rhythm, like over and over again. Maybe it's time to actually pause and get purpose. Trust in God's purpose for your life. Maybe it's time to pause and gain clarity on who you be. I'm gonna tell you something tactical, man. This might seem. It's time to stop making decisions without a process. I mean, you look around. I don't know about you, but things are volatile. Do you really just want to be like, oh, I think I'm going to? Nah, man. I need a promise in my life. When things are volatile, I need promise. Purpose provides a promise. And part of the promise that purpose provides is peace. I don't know about you, but right about now, that sounds good. So I'm going to start evaluating decisions through my deeper calling. Not just the current pressure, but what is my deepest calling? So the question is, do you have a compass? Or are you improvising? This is your life. You got one. Are you improvising or do you have a very clear compass that gives you a true north, a north star? No matter what's happening, you can look and say, but here's the direction I'm supposed to go. Here's what I'm supposed to be doing. Because the problem is when you don't have that kind of clarity, you're drifting. And right now is a scary time to be drifting. And without purpose, what happens is pressure becomes your compass. So then you wonder why society moves in congruence with one another. And by the way, check this out. Isn't it interesting that the wealthy seem to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing? Economic downturn comes. Society doesn't have money. The wealthy are buying. Right? The wealthy stop buying when everybody else has money and they're buying. It's a cycle. Up, down, up, down, up, down. But what if I weren't led based on what everybody else was doing? Because something about the creator, right? He'll be like, whoa, pause right here. And if I'm used to listening, if I have purpose in my life, then I'm like, well, it don't make sense, but I'm gonna pause. Oh, that's why you told me to pause. It's something really special about supernatural guidance. Without purpose, pressure becomes the compass. And without direction, emotions become the decision maker. Oh, man. And then here's the crazy thing about emotion. You'll forget how you felt when you make the decision. You'll be like, why did I do that? Why did I go against my better judgment? Well, you were feeling it when you made that decision. You were feeling it. The 6-step decision-making framework. By the way, you get this free along with the course I take people through if you purchase Saturday's Discovery and Live Your Life's Purpose course. You get this, so you'll get it broken down for you. We already said, number 1 is vision. Which choice best aligns with the vision that I have based on my life's purpose, based on the Creator's purpose for my life? So which choice makes the most sense, right? Okay. We already shared Proverbs 3:5. Number 2, purpose. So then now that I because I know my purpose has a vision, then I go to which choice aligns best with my life's purpose. And you ask yourself with this decision, like, does it bring me in deeper alignment with my purpose or does it move me further away? You ask yourself, am I choosing this from the calling that I know that God has in my life, or am I choosing from confusion? Right? Purpose. That's the second part of the decision-making framework. And by the way, there's 6 parts, so you get to actually test the decision 6 ways. 6 ways. Let me look something up real quick. Give me 1 second, you guys. Something just crossed my mind. I just want to see. Whew. Wow. Okay, that was for me. All right. I'm going to share with the purpose audience, though. 6, so you understand this, the power of the 6. Okay, so 6 ways to align the decision. Number 1, vision. Number 2, I look through the lens of my purpose. Number 3, what am I most passionate about right now? Does this choice make me come alive or merely keep me functioning? What happens today is most people are choosing from a place of survival, right? Now, the interesting thing is what is counterintuitive typically is what works. So if I'm choosing from survival, I'm likely choosing what won't work. What is counterintuitive typically is what works. So what are my passions? Where am I performing life versus deeply living it? Because what is life meant? Like, is it meant to live on the surface or to be passionate about the things that you do? To be in passion. Like, I feel so blessed and favored every Sunday morning to do something I'm passionate about. To then Monday, do work I'm passionate about. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, coaching leaders. To be in passionate conversation. Man, what a blessing. Ask yourself whether this decision is putting a flame on the passion or igniting it. putting a damper on the passion or igniting the passion. Y'all follow? Number 4, does it align with my talents? Does this decision allow me to operate in my gifts, or do I have to abandon them? Does this decision allow me to operate in my gifts, or do I have to abandon them? I'm telling you, I believe one of the reasons people are exhausted is because they're not operating in their lane. You were created to have a lane. Like, are you operating in that lane? Notice when you may be trading your gifts for safety, for approval, for money. It's got to cost. It's got to cost. Ask yourself, if I do this, what part of myself will I have to stop honoring? Number 5, strengths. Does this decision allow me to operate in areas of excellence? But see, you got to know your strengths, though. You'll learn. You'll figure it out on Saturday. I'll support you, but you got to know your strengths. You gotta know, like, oh man, wait a second. My talent is teaching. My strength is speaking. And if I take this role, I'm no longer speaking. And if I'm no longer speaking, then my strength will deteriorate. It's like if you don't go to the gym, right? You ain't going to walk in there and bench what you used to bench and curl what you used to curl. I'm sorry. So am I actually allowing strengths I worked on developing to deteriorate if I do this thing? Number 6, roles. Does this decision respect the major roles I currently carry? Remember those top 5 regrets? Often people regret the decisions they make because it didn't align with the roles they most valued. What are the roles I most value? The role of being a husband, the role of being a father, the role of being a leader, a teacher. Like, those are the roles. And so what if I made a decision that actually took me out of alignment with those roles? Would I have regrets? We already know the answer to that. Look back and say, man, I should have done something differently, but we really needed money, but we really, and it's like, this is where we got to trust. A decision can feel real good. Listen to me. A decision can feel real good from ego, but be really bad for the roles you're committed to. It will create regret. Here's my prayer for those of you listening. If today's show has shown you anything, I hope that it's shown you this: that regret rarely arrives all at once. It builds. It builds through repeated, short-sighted, fear-based, and misaligned decisions. And one of the greatest reasons I believe people make those decisions is because they are unclear about who they are. They are unclear about why they are here in this earth realm. They are unclear about what it is the Creator created them to do. And this is exactly why I believe the Creator dropped this course in my spirit so many years ago. I had to overcome all these resistances to create it, to write it, to actually deliver it the first time, with fear, hoping it made sense, hoping that it actually supported people in distinguishing their purposes. That was 13-something years ago. Now, one of the guarantees I make is if you don't distinguish your purpose, you get your money back. So now here's an opportunity for you. Many of you have been listening to me for years. Stop delaying the work that you know you're supposed to be doing and get clear. Maybe today is the opportunity you take to make a powerful decision right now. Don't find yourself on the wrong side of the law of short-sightedness. Don't find yourself on the wrong side of the law of cause and effect. These are laws. Don't find yourself on the wrong side of the law of sowing and reaping. What seed will you plant today? What seed will you plant today? My prayer for you is that you walk wisely, trust God for direction, and remember that every cause has an effect. And there is supposed to be an effect from your life on all of us. My prayer is that you live into that effect. I love you guys. I promise I do. Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WBON Radio, or you can catch it right here on YouTube or Facebook.com/Coach Linal Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.